Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So we have a lot of early reviews out right now, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about all the sort of varying reviews and opinions. So, these videos end up being a little bit more, I would say, negative, or I guess positive, depending on what the show's like, right? Like, if the show was really bad, then the fact that I'm focusing more on positive and negative reviews just kind of makes it a little bit more mixed, right? It's the same thing if the show is really, really good. Like, if the show's really, really good, the fact that I'm focusing on like more negative reviews as well makes it seem like it's a little bit more mixed, right? So that I wanted to say that because I know people in the past have said that, you make it kind of seem like it's a little bit more negative, but no, I just kind of want to focus on a little bit more, just more opinions out there kind of thing, and just see what everyone overall thinks. I will say I've been looking at a lot of reviews, like overall everywhere online, and almost all of it is very, very positive. Most of the reviews are honestly saying more that this is the best Walking Dead show yet, but obviously if I focus just mostly on those reviews, then it would just seem like, so I always start off just saying generally what the reviews are out there, and like, really the reviews are honestly saying that the show is so great. And there are a couple things that I do want to talk about because we generally kind of get an idea on what the story is going to be focused on. A few things that, were familiar from the past in terms of when Scott Gimple was the showrunner, just in terms of story elements and all of that. And yeah, but honestly, in terms of the spoilers and all that for the show, there's nothing out there, which I'm very, very thankful for. There's actually really not a lot. They just kind of focused on, I guess, just the main story things. And you kind of, like, honestly, reading most reviews, like, there's nothing in there that is spoilery. So that's really good. So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. We are 11 days away until The Walking Dead does premiere. And I do want to say, first of all, thank you to AMC for sending me this The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live gift here. It's a really amazing gift to receive on Valentine's Day because it literally is a Valentine's Day gift. And I actually received it on this day. So really, really cool. Yeah, just wanted to say a big thank you to AMC. Honestly, really made my day. So now the review that I want to focus on first is by comicbook.com. So the review, I will say, is generally very, very positive. Well, actually, I don't want to say generally very, very positive. They rated it 5 out of 5. So that's a perfect 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, whatever. This is a, amazing show here. And the final quote here actually says, The Walking Dead spinoffs, Dead City and Daryl Dixon have revitalized and revived. Is that a word? Anyways, AMC's long-running franchise and the Rick and Michonne show is more proof that there's still a lot of life left in the Walking Dead universe. After all these years gone by, The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live is well worth the wait. And when you really get into the review, and again, I really recommend checking out all the reviews that I'm going to be linking down below. Like, definitely go check out all of them. I'm only like really getting into just like what they're saying generally and just like what the rating is kind of thing. But they go way more in depth on all their thoughts and all that. So go check out all of them. And the one thing that I've learned from like a lot of these reviews here is that the storytelling overall is, at least for the first 2 episodes, it seems like, is really non-linear. And, that is very, very similar to what Gimple used to do in terms of storytelling. Like we really used to get a lot of that, where episodes would begin with like something that happened in the future, and then it would go back in time and then tell that story and sort of build up to that moment kind of thing. So I know that is something that people have been wanting for a while. Like, some people have been, really missing Gimple's storytelling because he was the showrunner from season 4 to 8, right? And it seems like honestly, it's very, very interesting, but there are a lot of fans that just miss the old Walking Dead in terms of like season 1, 2, and I guess really just those first seasons. I will say, I don't think for the most part that's really what The Walking Dead is. And then there was like this next era of The Walking Dead where it was like seasons 4 to 8, which obviously people would say was like the best of The Walking Dead, right? And Gimple was the showrunner for a lot of that. Obviously, there was some big choices made in terms of really just bad decisions in terms of a cliffhanger and then Carl's death. But, overall, very, very successful, right? And then there's the next era, which is like seasons 9, 10, and 11. And I think that, like, obviously, season 9 is like my favorite season, though I go back and forth a lot between season 9 and season 4. But Angela Kang did a really amazing job there, right? But there was that different era there where the story was a little bit different. And I think in terms of, what we got there, I think she did a really amazing job. And I think any issues in season 11 in terms of the pacing and stuff like that wasn't really her fault. Like, they had to wrap everything up right away and then go into the spinoffs because, they were planning something entirely new. So I think a lot of the issues there, I think that when she became the showrunner, everything was so great with season 9 and then in season 10. And then everything just kind of got messed up there because then, they had to postpone the finale and then they got the bonus episodes and then they were told that they had to wrap everything up. And then season 11, really amazing moments in there, really great episodes and stuff. But obviously there were some pacing issues, but overall, I think they did a really amazing job. And then we get into this next era here, here where we get into, you know, a lot of these very high quality spinoffs. And so, you know, you're going to have fans of different eras, right? You're going to have fans of different eras of the Walking Dead universe. And so for me personally, I really liked Angela Kang's era, but I also really do like the spinoff era right now. I kind of like all the eras because, like, I don't know, it's also very hard to sort of review and like rank all of them. Like, it is kind of hard for me to do that because some of my favorite moments are from like other eras, and it's just overall it is a very hard thing to do. But if you did miss the Gimple era, it looks like, you know, that they're with this show anyways, they are sort of going back to that a little bit here. It looks like, at least for the first 2 episodes, it looks like there is a lot of that like non-linear storytelling in terms of like flashbacks and just like, you know, just stuff with like the timelines and all of that. And also every episode seems to end on a cliffhanger. Now, this to me is totally fine. Like, I don't mind that if the story in each episode is paying off. Like, that was always my issue, like back in the day. Like, I always said I'm okay with the cliffhangers. You can end a story on a cliffhanger or an episode or a season. That's totally fine. It happens all the time. It's just you need to give payoff in the episode for that to be, you know, something that is actually very exciting. And I think the, you know, the previous shows have done that very, very well. And so that's more of what my issue overall was, you know, in terms of the cliffhangers. And so we'll have to wait and see where this goes here, you know, in terms of the first 2 episodes. That is exciting because I guess we're going to be seeing a lot of flashback stuff in terms of maybe how Rick got to the CRM or just what he's been up to the entire time, what Michonne's been doing this entire time. And now to get into this other review here, really, really incredible review here by sportskita.com. And what I really like about this review is this part here at the very end. Again, definitely go and check out this article. Go check out all the articles that I'm referencing here because they go way more in depth on their thoughts on all of this. I'm really just going like right to the end and just like saying like this is, you know, they brought up this one point kind of thing. And so this review was very positive, and at the end here it says, ultimately The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live is a love story. The underlying theme of the show is that together Rick and Michonne Grimes are unstoppable. There is a cinematic quality to the show and the pacing is great. To be fair, there might be certain decisions that leave fans unhappy, but they become important plot points to move the story along. Catch Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera making their return to this fan-favorite universe with a star-studded cast on February 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, like the story, it is like, that's the one thing that I've noticed among a lot of the early reviews here is that they really do focus on Rick and Michonne. Like, the theme of this show is Rick and Michonne, and they don't seem to get into a lot of the CRM stuff right away. Like, there is some stuff it seems like that does happen. You do learn things, but there's a lot of secrets that are still being withheld. And so obviously these reviews here are for the first 4 episodes. I don't know how people are going to feel after the first or after the last 2 and where the show ends, though it seems like, based off of a lot of what people are saying right now that have watched the episodes, it doesn't seem like it's going to end after 6 episodes. Like, there's no way, because the story's really been focused on Rick and Michonne, and there's a lot to be told, and there's only 2 episodes left. And if you think about it, like, based off of what Andrew Lincoln, Denai Guerrera, Scott Gimple, you know, just what they've been saying overall about the possibility of a season 2, and mostly Gimple, it seems like it definitely is very possible. It seems like that's probably going to be where we're going, and I think a season 2 would mostly focus more on the CRM. I'm not saying that this season's not going to get into it and there's not going to be a story here, but I think season 2 would give us a lot more of that story. And obviously in this review here, there's a mention of, you know, there's certain decisions that might leave fans unhappy. I really feel like I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing that has to be Rick losing his hand. That's the only thing I could really assume would be the case here, because Rick, I think, is going to lose his hand based off of the teasers, based off of just what people have been saying. Andrew Lincoln especially, like, he's kind of been spoiling it a little bit. And I know, based off of some of the fan reaction to that some people are unhappy about that. Some people don't want him to lose his hand. And if the show's beginning that way, you know, that could be, I guess, discouraging to some, because, I don't know, I guess people want Rick to not lose his hand. For me, honestly, it happens in the comic, and I think in terms of a story piece here, and for something to happen to the character to just change it up a lot, like, I just think, yeah, it's time now. It's time. It happened to Rick in the comic, and it literally happened to him in the beginning of the comic. People always say, yeah, well, after Rick lost his hand, like, he wasn't able to do much, this and that for the rest of the comic. Literally, he lost it in the Governor arc, like, very, very early on in the entire comic series, and he still went the entire comic series, had the most insane moments, and he was missing his hand the entire time, and then eventually got a prosthetic during the New Beginning arc and all of that. So, like, I don't know, that argument to me just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, I disagree with that entirely. But let's get into some more reviews here. So there was another review here by Variety, and this review here is more negative, and so that's why I wanted to talk about it here. And I will say, just reading the review, a lot of what they're saying here, I mean, I guess I understand, but I also could really see it as like, I don't know, let's just get into the ending part here of the review here. But more than carrying a relatively weak plot, the strong supporting cast also allows for the possibility of reviving the engine that powered The Walking Dead's best seasons. The idea that any character, no matter how beloved or familiar, could be killed at any time. Obviously, Rick and Michonne will be safe. However, anyone else is fair game, and the prospect of losing any of these characters already carries weight. However, if the plot remains too bogged down by needless trivia about a dystopian stratocracy, if I'm saying that right, the emotional pull from strong performances and well-drawn characters may not be enough to compensate. Fortunately, by the third episode, the pace picks up and the central conflicts are well underway. However, viewers will have to get through the first two slow, clumsy installments in order to proceed at full steam. For fans who are still deeply invested in Rick and Michonne's story, the series is likely to deliver the closure they've been craving, but this describes a fraction of an audience that is already itself a fraction of the fan base the show had at its peak. After the successful storytelling and well-established worlds of Dead City and Daryl Dixon, it feels less necessary. So this review overall seems to, not like, I guess, the Rick and Michonne story too much, or at least maybe not that, but I guess feel like the overall story here is kind of slow and I guess more clumsy. And I guess that's kind of the first two episodes here. And again, back in the day, people didn't really like, Scott Gimple's storytelling when he used to like, mess around with timelines and stuff like that and just how things would go. The pacing back then was definitely much slower than it got to, right? And so, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. It seems like that might just be a thing for episodes 1 and 2, and I feel like maybe that's more of an issue for episode 2. Maybe episode 1, things are really fun because, we're seeing Rick and Michonne for the first time in a while. And then episode 2, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like in the third episode, though, things get really, really good. And so I do find it interesting, though, that they actually preferred, I guess, Dead City and Daryl Dixon over this show. And I've seen some of those comments online that they actually preferred those shows over this one, which I kind of find a little insane. But obviously, everyone has their own opinions on stuff like that. And that's why I'm doing this. I want to show everyone's opinions. And so it's totally fine to have a different opinion. Then, yeah, I would just have to, I haven't watched the show yet, but we'll have to wait and see what that means in terms of the overall plot here, because again, the focus is a lot on like Rick and Michonne, right? And I guess we'll have to see what happens with the CRM and all that. But I feel like, if this show is going to be 3 seasons, that really is the point of the first season. The first season, the point is to reunite the characters and focus just on them and slowly introduce some of the CRM stuff. And then in the second season, really get into a lot of that, right? Get into it in the first season as well, because you do got to establish a story and everything like that. And there's got to be villains and all of that. But like, I feel like, what people have been wanting for a while is Rick and Michonne. Like, just specifically, like, we want to see them, right? Now, because this video is getting very long, I will just sort of end this here with a review here from The Wrap. And so at the very end here, the review says, after 4 episodes, though, it's difficult to see where the show is headed in terms of its goals within the wider Walking Dead universe. To a total destruction of the CRM, to an open-ended storyline hoping to spur yet another spin-off, the show sees the return of Scott M. Gimple as showrunner, along with Lincoln and Guerrera as executive producers, and the door seems to be open for the ones who live to return for future seasons, according to comments Gimple has made in interviews. At the very least, The Ones Who Live is an accessible spin-off for casual Walking Dead fans who may have jumped ship after Rick left the show. Flashbacks are even used to remind viewers of key events in the original series. At its best, it's a powerhouse showcase for how good Lincoln and Guerrero are in these roles, but do not expect a radical reinvention of the franchise. So for me, that's, like, going based off of all the reviews, it looks like everyone is saying this is worth watching. This is a really incredible show. And again, it's only the first 4 episodes, and just, generally what people have been saying is very, very good overall. The story is more focused on Rick and Michonne. It's more on their story, which they have been talking about for a while. Some of the CRM stuff isn't necessarily there, and I guess 4 episodes in, it is kind of hard to see where they're going overall. I guess I will say I don't think it's going to end in a way where the CRM is completely gone. I do think there is going to be a season 2, because again, I've said that before, like, this show really is like, there was no way they could wrap it up in 6 episodes, and it looks like a lot of the early reviewers are kind of thinking the same thing. Like after 4 episodes, it's like, that's the thing, you know, some of these reviewers could have went in thinking like, okay, this is 6 episodes and it's going to wrap everything up. And then all of a sudden the story's a bit slower. You're focusing more on Rick and Michonne. You're 4 episodes in. Yes, you've learned some stuff about the villains, the CRM, like Major General Beale, some of the other characters, but like you're not, you know, at a point going into episode 5 where you're like, okay, this is all wrapping up right away, right? So I kind of get it in that way. I do get that maybe it doesn't seem so conclusive to the overall story and to, you know, what people were thinking. And I think it's because it's meant to be more than one season. And so this one here really focuses on Rick and Michonne. That is the theme to this. And I think it's a very, very worthy theme because we've been waiting for these characters to reunite for a very long time. And that's what fans have always wanted, right? Fans have wanted, you know, them to really focus on certain characters and like the Grimes family story. Like I wanted that so much in The Walking Dead after Rick was gone. Like just any mention of Rick, just talk about Rick, say his name, like literally just say his name. They avoided his name so much. Like I just wanted more of the Grimes story. And it looks like in this show, they're giving us that a lot. So I'm very happy about that, and just slowly introduce some other stuff, get into some very exciting stuff. I want to see more of what a lot of that is here, and we'll see where the story ends here. And I'm guessing like season 2, it'll just be much more intense in terms of, you know, what's going to happen at the CRM and just all of that, right? So yeah, overall, this is sort of, these are the early reviews here. Again, there's a lot that I can go through. There's so many reviews out there, so definitely just go out there and check out a bunch of reviews. So far, it seems like the show is very positive. There's some issues that people have, obviously, but that is the case with all shows. And so I'm very excited for the show. The show is premiering in just 11 days now. It's very, very close. Definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all of my Walking Dead content like this. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.